Welcome back, everybody, and without further ado, former NFL superstar and Impact superstar, ladies and gentlemen, Moose. What's going on, big dog? Nice to meet you, man.
Same here.
Please
Thanks
have a
for
seat,
having
man.
me.
Please have a seat. Oh, man. This is one I've been waiting on right here. Hey, guys, don't you go down a damn bit of nowhere, because right after this brief commercial break, we got Moose right here in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, everybody, and man, without further ado, we got Moose right here in the building. First things first, sir, welcome to Late Night at the Farm. So you're sitting in the hot seat. Thank you for coming as far as you have all the way down from Florida to be here with us, man. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So for people that don't know who you are, because we all know who you are here, but for the few fans of Late Night at the Pharmacy that don't know who you are, please just give a quick explanation of who Moose is and why you're here.
Moose is a former NFL football player. Was lucky enough to play 7.5 years in the National Football League. Got drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. Played a year with Tom Brady and Belichick and the Patriots. Played a year with the Colts and then finished off in 2012 with the St. Louis Rams. And now I'm pursuing my dream, being a professional wrestler. Currently working for Impact Wrestling, one of the best companies in the world, and yeah, that's my story.
Man, that's amazing. And, you know, I'm a Rams fan. Y'all know I'm a Rams fan, so I say thank you for the service that you put in with my favorite team. Came out the womb in '93 a Rams fan, so thank you for what you were contributions to us. So when you were a kid growing up, how was growing up? Because I was told you were from Maryland. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm back home. I'm born and raised in the DMV area. Went to school in DeMatha.
DeMatha Catholic, correct.
Big powerhouse sports school. Always wanted to be a professional wrestler, even when I was in DeMatha playing football. It's like wrestling was one of those things that I always wanted to do since I watched it when I was 10 years old and instantly fell in love with it. But I tell people this, my dream got derailed a little bit because I eventually found out I was good in football.
Right.
So it's one of those things. You're good at the sport, and this sport has opened up pathways to make a lot of money and do things you never thought of doing, which is being able to play in the National Football League. So, at what point do I give up this thing that's making me a lot of money to pursue this dream? You know, so it got to a point where the love for football wasn't there. Honestly, I don't even know if it was ever there. So I decided to chase this dream that I had thought about doing when I was 10 years old.
So let me ask you this question before we transition to the wrestling side. You got to football, but you went on ahead and said, you know what, I'm going to enter in the draft and went for a fifth-round pick to the Atlanta Falcons. I got to ask, what made you go ahead and transition and say, you know what, I'm good at football. Let's go ahead and at least see if I'm qualified to even make it in the NFL. A lot of people think that they're good at football. The NFL is the stamp in a sense. So what made you want to go get that stamp of approval from the NFL?
I don't think there was I don't think I ever thought about it that way. I think the difference between me and a lot of other athletes, especially college athletes, is there wasn't no pressure to me to play in the NFL, because being in the NFL is not something I ever thought about I wanted to do.
Like bonus round in this sense.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a wrestler. So it was like when I went on games, I was playing freely. I was just having fun. And it's just one of those things that at the end of the season, I would get phone calls from agents saying, "Oh, you're this good, and you should probably, if you keep doing what you're doing, you might get drafted." And even then, it never really hit me because I wanted to be a professional wrestler. So I was free. I was in a win-win situation. Nothing holding me back. No pressure. I was ultimately in a win-win situation where, okay, if it doesn't work out, I get to chase my dream of being a professional wrestler.
Exactly. And so in 2012,
I end up being really good. I end up going to the NFL making money, you know.
Exactly.
So I played my whole college career having no pressure. I think that helped me out in my favor. And I think that's part of the reason why I did end up playing in the NFL, because there wasn't no pressure of, I must make it to the NFL and I need to do this. I never had that.
Right, because like a lot of people when they grow up, all they think about and they're primed and pumped for is you got to make it to the NFL. If you're in a sport, you got to make it in your sport, and that's what they're pumped and primed for. But in 2012, you leave the St. Louis Rams at the time, and you decide, you know what, it's time to wrestle. So what was that transition period, or what was that aha moment for you that was like, you know what, I'm done with football. Let's go ahead and attack wrestling full head on.
I think when I made the decision to leave the football world, and start this passion of professional wrestling, I knew that was a snap. I was like, and I know the work ethic I had when I played football, and that work ethic has always been with me my whole life and still with me now, where when I tell myself I'm going to do something, I'm going to work night and day and give 110% to until I'm successful or I hit that goal. And I knew when I found that school in Atlanta, Georgia, and when I met Scott D'Amore, who's one of my great friends
Just
and
about to get
mentor, now I knew I was going to give 110%. I knew I was going to be successful with it because I know my drive and I know how hard I work, and I know I'm a very determined human being.
So giving some information to some newer wrestlers and things like that, just getting in the game because you've been in their position already. How did you know where to go? And when you got there, how did you know that, that I got to train a specific way? And how you started training, you became the best out of your class. So tell me how you were able to locate a good place to start your wrestling career and get your break.
Conventional Google. I went on
Team
Google.
Google,
Yeah, Google is a hell of a website. I went on Google and I think I typed where to be a professional wrestler, place to train to be a wrestler, and a bunch of schools came up, and honestly I just picked the closest school to me driving distance wise, which was a place called WWA4. I think it was like an hour drive from where I was living at in Georgia at the time. So that started my journey for the first 5-6 months of training. That's where I trained at, and then it got to a point. Something about me, I'm never really satisfied. So one guy could train me for a year, and to me, I want to learn more. And in my mind, this one guy can only teach me what he knows. But I know there's a million other ways to do it, So after going to WWA for a few months, I decided that, you know what, I think I've learned enough from this specific guy, which is Curtis Hughes. I need to branch out so I could learn more, and then I got connected to a guy who I call my mentor now, and he's actually my boss, Scott D'Amore, and he's the president of Impact Wrestling, and he had a school in Windsor, and I decided to take a trip to Windsor so I could have him train me, so I could see what I could learn from his style of training, and in between the time I started at WWA4 and when I met Scott D'Amore, there was other little seminars and other people I went to learn more information about wrestling. So, and I'm big. That's how you learn. I don't think that's in anything. If you want to be a doctor, you just don't go to one school and one method. You do your research around to see other things, and that's what I did with wrestling, where I went to this guy, I learned what he could teach me. So I did this seminar, I learned what he could teach me. And I did this seminar, I learned what he could teach me. Then I went to Scott D'Amore and I saw what he could teach me. Then I put all those things in a pot together, melted, and that's how Moose came about.
Man, that is absolutely amazing. Yeah. You said something that's very, very key. How key is networking in modern day age? Because networking, how it used to be before social media popped and boomed, it was one way. It was, word of mouth was the biggest way for anybody to really get around. Now we have the social media era where networking is key, but made easier, but could also be positive or negative depending on how you carry yourself. You carried yourself very, very well, which you said you literally split the wrestling from the professional wrestling side, because you said something else that was also very key, that you're a learning and you're a teachable person. You don't want to just sit from one person, and when you max out from that person, you understand when it's time to transition on and get more learning and training. I've always been told that's what separates the wrestlers from the professionals, guys that want to continue to keep building and putting it all together. I believe Ric Flair told Randy Orton back in the day, the reason why we're doing all these little things, the small little bitty things, because when you put them all together, you make one massive mogul like you, that you made yourself Moose. So, gotta ask the question, now that you have started, you went to your first match. Do you remember who your first match was against?
Oh, man. So long ago. And I feel like this is something I should know, but honestly, I'm very weird in the sense that I really focus on the now and how can I get better today. And I'm still getting better.
So I'll rephrase the question for you in a sense. So from the time where you started to where you currently are now, how much growth have you seen yourself making strides in your wrestling career?
Oh, tons. And I mean, you could ask me this question in 2 years from now until where I'm going to be in wrestling in 2 years, and I'm probably have gotten much better because I feel like wrestling is always a learning process. You're always learning. You're always finding new tricks and finding new things to make yourself better. And I don't think today there's any perfect wrestler. I think all the
Right.
greats are still learning, like the Roman Reigns and the Seth Rollins and the Kenny Omegas. Those guys are still learning, and same thing with me. You can, like I said, you can ask me this question: where would I be 2 years from now? And I guarantee you, I'll be a better wrestler in 2 years than I am today because I'm aggressively still learning and trying to, what I'm saying, put more tools in my toolbox.
So how important is fitness in the wrestling world? Now, one thing that I know, I love wrestling. I love indies wrestling, but the biggest turnoff for me in indies wrestling is the way these wrestlers look and how they carry themselves, their work ethic, their eating habits. Tell me how important it is to take care of your body in this game called wrestling.
I honestly, and like I told you, what I said, I'm still learning. 3 years ago, I considered myself fat, and I was, because I was one of those guys that I let my talent take me as far as I was, and then I got closer to a couple of my friends who were real big in the fitness world. It was like EC3, and he introduced me to his trainer.
That's Jack Boy.
Yeah, he introduced me to his trainer, AJ Sims, and one thing that stuck in my mind is like, yeah, you're good enough to be a top guy in professional wrestling. What's holding you back is the way you look, is how you present it. Like, and he had a good point, because if you look at the history of wrestling, all the well-known top guys and history of wrestling were always jacked.
Right.
And like, you look at the Hogans, you look at the Macho Man,
pythons.
you look at the Ultimate Warriors, the Triple H's, the Rocks, Stone Cold, all those guys.
Gym rats.
With gym rats, they looked great. They had an actual good physique, and you didn't see it. There wasn't a lot of guys who were fat. Like, I mean, you had the Dusty Rhodes, but it was only like a handful of those guys. So I knew, okay, skill wise, I'm good enough to be named as one of the top names in wrestling. But what if I took a summer or took a year to work on my physique? How bigger would I get in wrestling? So I took his advice and got on a strict diet and did a lot of cardio and worked out harder than I ever worked out in my life. And I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I actually have a good physique, and you'd be surprised how the narrative on the name Moose changed for the positive.
And it changed for a major positive, because you end up getting signed by Impact Wrestling. And when you got signed by Impact Wrestling, you became the 4th ever TNA World Heavyweight Champion. How does that feel to get that heavyweight championship status? Like, you have a major belt. You are the guy now. How did it feel when they put that strap on you and you were officially the guy?
Being a world champion in any company is always a big deal. Even though what we do, in a sense, is play, is I won't say make believe, but it's kind of like acting. But once a company put their world championship on you, that's always a big deal, because they're pretty much telling you that, okay, for this time period, you're the face of our company. You're the guy that we're going to run our company through, and that's a big deal. And that's a big deal once a company tell you that. Like,
especially when you're working for a major company.
Well, especially when you're working for a company like Impact Wrestling,
Right.
one of the biggest wrestling companies in the world, and they label you as their world champion. That means you have to go do all the media. You have to talk to all the sponsors, and like, you have to cut the promos. You work harder than everybody else in the company once you have that status on you. And it's something I always wanted, and I can't wait till I'm given the opportunity to carry the company in that sense again. But as of right now, we have a great champion, Josh Alexander, and he's doing his thing, and he's done a phenomenal job so far.
I would love to see Moose versus Josh Alexander for the belt. I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's happened once.
See if we
and,
can make that happen.
It was a great match. So we'll see. You never knows. I mean, it might be a story that might be retold. We might relive that story one more time, or something. You never know. You just have to watch the show and see what happens.
Yeah, we definitely will be. Everybody, you guys tune into TNA. I mean, it's gonna be Impact. You guys will see everything of what they got going on. A couple more questions, and I'm gonna get you out of here. I know you got a jam-packed schedule. So, I want to ask about where you could see yourself. You said in a few years you can see yourself in a certain position. When it's all said and done for Moose in the wrestling game, how do you want to be remembered? Not in just wrestling, but as a person when it's all said and done and you hang it up. What do you want the world to know Moose as?
What do I want the world to know me as? First and foremost, that I was a good human being outside the ring. I think that's more important because there's a narrative that's always created by the character you play on TV. So when I'm a scumbag on TV, everybody thinks, oh, he's a scumbag in real life. So once I decide to hang the boots up, I want people to remember me for the things that I did and the type of person I was outside of the ring. And then in the ring, I want to be labeled as one of the best guys that enter the ring. I mean, I truly believe that there's no such thing as the best wrestler in the world because it's all it's opinionated. It's up to the individual you're asking. But once I retire or hang those boots up, once you ask somebody that, I want to be at least the top 20 names that people name, you know?
Right. And I think you can definitely reach that meteoric rise. I mean, you're already in people's top 20. Some people will tell you they're your favorite wrestler. Yeah. And that's nothing to be ashamed about at all because this man, if you haven't seen, go back and watch some of his matches, guys. Look. You can say he's a moose, but I say he's a mountain. This guy is something different. He takes out bodies left and right, man. I love watching you fight. I'll be over here.
Appreciate it, yeah.
Moose, I'll be out here doing it. So, 2 more questions. We're going to get you out of here. What has been your favorite feud to this point up to date where you say, you know what, I like wrestling him. I like what we did. I like the chemistry. I like the magic we made. Who is that person that you can always say that you make good chemistry with in the ring?
I pride myself on... I can't really sit here and name my favorite feuds because I'm one of those guys that when I'm in a feud with somebody, you're gonna watch it.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be entertaining. But if I had to answer, I'll probably say my latest one, the one with Josh Alexander when he beat me for the world title. I think Impact did a good job telling that story. It was a story that lasted. It was like a full year worth of back and forth with me and his family, and so yeah. But I think that's one gift that I have in wrestling, just more than the in ring is. I'm the guy that if you put me in a storyline or a feud with somebody, it's gonna be you're gonna be interested in it because of that's what I bring to the table.
Well, speaking of what you bring to the table, tell the fans what you got coming up. How can they reach you? How can they get to your social media? And what events do you have coming up to where they can follow?
My social media, my Twitter is The Moose Nation. My Instagram is Moose Nation 69. Right now I'm in the DMV area, and there's a huge event with C3W.
Correct.
Tomorrow, from what I understand, is a free show for the community. So come with your favorite Halloween costumes, have fun, eat candy, and watch me beat up somebody. And for Impact Wrestling, we have one of our pay-per-views, our app special that you can catch on Impact Plus, and you can also get on Fight TV. It's called Overdrive, and I can't really give it up on who I'm wrestling, but I will be in a tables match with Hall of Famer. That's all I could give you.
I can't let him take no more. Don't say no more about it at all, man. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much, Mr. Moose. Ladies and gentlemen, Moose is in the building here tonight. Oh, man, that's absolutely amazing. Sir, I just want to say thank you for everything that you're doing and your contributions to wrestling and just to this world. You've been an amazing host and amazing guest, man. I just want to say thank you once again. Hey, you guys not going out a damn bit of nowhere because right after this commercial break, we got more late night